Welcome to another episode of Step by Step Talks. I'm your host, Rohini Kapoor, and today, being December and right next to Christmas, we have a special guest for you. In every episode that I have spoken to you, I've always specified on the importance for us at Step by Step Talks being financially independent women. And I'll tell you, I have met a lot of women in the last few episodes, and I've done quite a few now to date. But I have not met a woman as strong as my guest today. I think once you hear her story today and the message she's trying to send, I think you will admit to me that this guest is unbelievable. A woman who's courageous, a woman has a story, she has shared her story, and she has proven the importance of women being financially independent. Welcome, Thalia Velasquez. I am just so taken back by what you've been through and your story. I am excited to interview you today.
Thank you so much, Rohini, for coming here to my house and taking your time and finding my story of inspiration to you and to your audience. It's very heartwarming for me. Thank you.
Well, Thalia, I'll tell you one thing. I've spent some time talking to you. I've understood what you've been through. And I ask a lot of questions. You know that, right? But understanding what you've been through and where you are today is not something everybody can do. Now, you would have fallen apart at least 6, 7 times and not stood up again. I always say, if it's to be, it's up to me. And you are a prime example of that. If it's to be, it's up to me. So you took it upon yourself to come up, share your story with the world, right? And I think there's a movie coming along, right? Well, perfect. Okay. So
we're praying for that.
That would be awesome.
That. Yes,
oh yeah, me too.
Yes.
I want to show you the book that Thalia has written, Fuga Por Vida, which means Flight for My Life, which is also being published and edited as we speak and should be out in January, right?
In English, yes.
In English, right?
Yes.
And this today is a gift, a Christmas gift to all of you, to ladies, to women out there, the importance of being financially independent and how my guest fought her way through it. So Thalia, tell me, what exactly happened? Do you want to share with us, what inspired you to write a book like this and to share? Because many women in your situation would not even talk about it. They'd forget about it and not discuss it due to embarrassment, due to, being battered, yes. Right? But you have actually come out and talked about it. So do you want to share with us what happened? You were very young when you got married. What happened? What proceeded?
I find that it's very important for people to know that this happened to me. It's been 30 years, 35 years since I closed the page in that chapter of my life. And it took me 30 years to actually write the book and put it in a way that came from the heart, with love and with the interest to inspire people, not just women, but people in power, governments, and families, to understand what it is like to go through domestic violence or any kind of abuse, actually. And it took me all these years to put it out in a format of a book, because at the beginning, the pain was very strong. The healing process took a long time. I went through a lot of self-empowerment education. I read a lot, and I also decided that I was going to heal. And to heal, actually, you have to realize that there is something to heal, and you have to find the strength to do it and the time to do it and really dedicate yourself to it.
So every time you have shared that every time you were in trouble or you were battered, you always went back to your spouse. Mm-hmm. Now, why is that?
Fear.
Why did you always go back? Fear.
Fear.
Yep.
Fear is the biggest reason people stay in a relationship.
Right.
In a relationship that's abusive. And fear of what people will say, fear of how am I going to support myself financially? How am I going to continue with providing for not just for me, but for my children? And fear of losing my life as well, because the kind of violence that I was exposed to was extreme violence, near-death experiences on a number of occasions. And yes, fear was the biggest. And actually, the cover of my book has a wolf.
A wolf.
A wolf. Wolf is represented in here behind me.
That's the wolf that came out.
Actually, it was the wolf I was running from, but then the wolf that came out, because I faced my fears, and what I was living through was very strong and very scary, and I had to actually face it and confront it and become bigger than that. And yes, that was the wolf that came out of me to protect myself and also protect my children. Yes.
Now, you also shared with me earlier that the reason you stayed was because of your past. Your parents were divorced, and you didn't want your children to go on without a father if you left them, right?
Of course.
That was a big part of what made you stay there.
Yes.
Right?
Because, see, my book is not just the story of me going through a domestic violence relationship. I also tell the story of my childhood and how what happened between my mom and my dad marked my life in a way that made me make the decisions that I took, like getting married so early without having being able to support myself financially. I got out of my house and into this relationship. Yes. And when I was faced the first time abuse, I decided I want to leave. I took my luggage and I filled it up with my clothes and all, and then I realized, well, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? How am I going to support my child? I was pregnant. How am I going to raise a child by myself? And am I taking away his rights of having a father? And to me, having been a daughter of divorced parents was very limiting. Like, my friends had so many different things, not just financially, but also the family environment, the father and the mother together. I did not have that. And I wanted that so much for me. And when I was faced with pregnancy and then abuse, I did not want to leave my child without his father. And I tried my best to make it happen. But I did not know that in reality, it was not my fault. It was not me who had the capability of making him change.
Right.
It was his problem, not mine. And I was not going to be able to change him.
And you kept taking it upon yourself and making it your problem.
Yes.
So what sparked you to say, okay, I need to get financially independent. I need to move on. So there must be a time in your life, in the whole situation, you thought, okay, what is the next step I need to do? Because many people would just collapse. You know what I mean? So what prompted you to do the next step? Okay, I need to be financially independent. How do I get out of this?
Yes, that question was running through my mind a lot. And he was very controlling.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we later on had a business together, but then he controlled all the financials. I was working, but he controlled the financials. And for me to get out of that was not easy. I had to come up with a plan, and I had to stick by my vision of where I wanted to be. I wanted to escape from the United States with my 2 children. It was not easy because I was so young. I was only 23 years old with 2 children, living in a foreign country. And how was I going to be able to leave and come back to my home and start from zero? that's what I did. And I express all of what I went through in my book and how I did it. It was not easy. Actually, he would hide my children's identifications, the passports. He kept in very safe. He safeguarded the passports so that I could not have access to them. But back then, I was able to bring my children to Panama with their birth certificates.
Oh,
I don't think
it was easier.
I don't think that you can do nowadays. Yes, it was a long process, a lot of planning, and yes, the day of the escape. That's why my book is called Flight for My Life, Fuga Por Mi Vida. That day was the longest day I've ever had in my whole life.
The day you ran out, you flew out.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually, it came a moment when he actually changed his flight schedule to fly. He was not home at the time I decided to plan my escape. He had to go to another state for for work, and so that was the time when I was going to run away.
Okay.
So I scheduled my flight for one date, and then he called me to give me the great news that his flight was changed and he was coming home earlier.
Oh no.
The same day I was flying back home.
Oh my goodness.
And when I look at my tickets from the plane schedule, we were coinciding in the same airport at the same time.
Oh my goodness, that's fear.
Atlanta
That's
airport.
fear. Oh,
It
you
was
must have been
horrifying.
scared. Yeah.
So I get to the airport. I did my first flight. Then I am in the second flight in Atlanta. The plane has they had something wrong with the plane, and
Mechanical
they had to take
emergency.
everybody out of the plane. I did not want to get out of the plane because I knew that he was outside in that
Area
somewhere. But at the time, the lady, the flight attendant say to me, you can stay here with your two children. It's okay. They'll embark again later on, but it's just a minor damage in the plane, and they'll fix it and we'll get back.
So you never got out?
Yes, I did, because my children were thirsty, they were cranky, and so on. And the flight attendant says, well, just walk right outside the plane, and there is an ice cream store there.
Yeah.
So I walk outside the plane, and I buy the ice cream.
And run right back.
And run back in. And I'm inside the plane.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
And then one of the flight attendants comes up to me and says, Miss Rains, there's a man outside who says, he is the father of your children.
Oh, no.
Yes. Oh. My heart was going to stop. I thought, oh my God, I'm going to die. What am I going to do?
He saw them. Huh?
He saw me.
He saw you.
Getting out. And then when I come back inside the plane, I have the official from the airlines telling me that he's outside. And I just told him, it must be a mistake. Maybe that person is crazy. But if he is the father of my children, just tell him that I'll get in touch with him when I arrive at my final destination. From that moment on, I thought he was going to get in the plane, buy a ticket to Panama, and that was going to be the end of my plan, of my freedom. Mm-hmm. I was so close to reaching freedom, and that was being almost taken away from me.
Oh goodness, that is
very, so scary.
Very unfortunate.
But that didn't happen. I was able to get to my other destination, Miami, and then from Miami to Panama. But throughout the whole ordeal, my children were like, Mommy, what's wrong with you? And I would cry because I was so excited, because I was already going to be able to be at home.
Yeah.
But yes, I arrived at Panama without a job, with $100 in my pocket.
Oh, yeah. Mm.
But I had freedom.
Yeah.
And that to me was the most important thing. And I wanted to just do whatever it took, get the job, and start working and being able to support my children. And that's what I did.
So I don't want to go more into detail of what happened because I want everybody to buy your book.
Yes,
because
and I already said a lot about the book.
Right?
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
So when you came to Panama, yeah, you got yourself a job and you started to work and you got
Yes.
yourself sorted out. There was no mention of there's no mention of the husband again. Then he was gone, was he? It was done. He never came back to Panama.
He did come back.
Oh, he did.
He did come back. Yes, he had in his mind that I was always going to be his wife for the rest of my life, and he was going to do whatever it took to keep me as his wife.
Yeah.
And it was a very difficult time while I was here in Panama, having to deal with his presence here. He would show up at different places and try to make my life actually miserable and difficult. And it was not easy.
For the sake of the audience, do you want to share a little story of how you were being abused? Just a small little story that you can share with the audience on what would happen, and that, sometimes you think it's not abuse, but you know it is abuse, right?
Yes, like you say, sometimes you think it's not abuse. If we look at abuse, just the psychological part of abuse.
Yeah.
When it was like 3:00 in the afternoon, my heart would begin to pound. I would begin to feel fear because the time was coming close to 5 when he arrives home.
Right.
And my fear was so big, I would start running all around the house, making sure that everything was in good place, everything was clean, everything was organized. It was fear. I was running my life out of fear. And anything could trigger his physical abuse. So it was not just the psychological part, but then the physical abuse. And this is a cycle, which is called, and it's typified as the domestic violence cycle, the ciclo de la violencia doméstica, which starts with you have building up to the moment when the abuse is going to happen, and then the abuse happens, being verbally or physical, and then comes the "I'm so sorry" part where
regret.
he says it won't happen again. I am sorry. If you had not done this, I would not have acted this way, because the aggressor usually always will put the blame on the victim.
Yeah.
And it is not her fault or his fault, because the violence can go both ways.
Both ways, yeah.
Yes. And then the I am so sorry part, the feeling sorry, and the please, it won't happen again. And then the victim takes back the aggressor, and then the love begins again, and it all builds up as a cycle.
Yeah, and it continues. Well, I am so sorry for what you went, but you know what? You came out of this whole experience as a very strong woman. You're now promoting, non-violence against women, or women being financially independent, which I just love.
Yes.
And at the same time, you also talked about a charity that you're founding, right? There's a foundation that you based on the shelter that you stayed in the States.
Yes, I was taken to a shelter in one of those occasions, and at that moment, my eyes opened up to another reality, which was incredible. First of all, my situation was not as bad, even though it was horrible and extreme, but there are so many other situations which are so much more incredibly horrifying. So I was able to realize that there is much worse out there, but also the way this shelter was managed was incredible. They knew how to do it. They were given support emotionally, psychologically, and empowering the users of the shelter, meaning the women who were there, were being taught how to come out of there strong, to be able to have a job and feel good about themselves, and be able to be the main support financially for their family. And I question, why is it that we don't have that here in Panama?
Panama. Mm-hmm.
And that is one of my visions and missions through the Hope Foundation, is to be able to put together a shelter where women victims of domestic violence can be taken to and really be given the tools that they need to come out strengthened.
Yeah, to come out strengthened,
Yes.
and then they can move on. And that's going to take a little process, but you know what? We support you from Step by Step Talks,
Thank
100%.
you so much.
And we're going to just, we're going to
it.
support you on it and on your journey,
Thank
and we're going to
you.
be there step by
you.
step, because that is very important. You know, I was in the insurance industry for 3 decades or more.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, I keep talking about women being financially independent because I have horrifying stories of abused women, and they didn't have any money, they didn't know how to get out of the situation. I've got stories about women who thought their husbands were very wealthy and the husband passes on and they're left with nothing. Or, you know, stories of women who've been married, you know, maybe second marriage or third marriage, and everything is left to the first marriage, you know, the spouse of the first marriage, because the husband forgot to change the beneficiaries, you know, so on and so on. And that's why I really continue saying women be financially independent. What is one piece of advice you can give our audience on, now you came into Panama and you had 2 little children, very hard, $100 in your pocket. How did you learn how to be financially independent? What did you do? Because you were 18 when you finished school. Obviously, you didn't get a degree or anything.
No.
You're straight from high school. You've got 2 little kids. You've been through a bad experience. What is the one thing you can tell our women? This is what you can do. Because I get asked all the time, so what do you want me to do? What can I do? And, you know, I have a program where I do a step-by-step process on women, what you can do, start saving gradually and so on and so forth. But what did you do to get the tickets for the children in place for you guys to fly out? Because he would have known if you didn't have. What is kind of some advice you can give our audience?
Well, first of all, have a support group, meaning in my case was my family, my sisters. My 2 sisters helped me so much to be able to fly back home. But not just that, I was able to come to their home. I did not have a home to stay in.
Yeah.
So they gave me refuge in their home. And I started working, and I realized the importance of being financially independent, being able to pay for my own bills myself. That buying my first car bought by myself was the most rewarding thing. Then when you realize that you go and you work, whatever it is that you do, you save money and you have a plan. Have a plan as to what you want to achieve in life and go for it. Know very well what you do not want in life and don't allow that to be placed into your life. And you should be able to say no. Say no and practice at saying no, no, no as many times as you have to, because we tend to be pleasers.
Yeah.
We are taught from little that we need to be good and we need to please people. So by pleasing people, many times we put ourselves second, third, or fourth.
We push ourselves
and
back.
at the end.
Yeah.
And then I think it is so important to realize that you come first so that you can give to others.
To others. Yeah.
You need to realize that and start saying no to a lot of the things that you're saying yes to that take away your time, attention from your own goals and what you want to become and what you want to do with your free time. One thing that I really, really encourage people to do is to study. Even though if you're not going to the university, study. Nowadays, there are so many ways to become knowledgeable about so many things that you can actually work and earn your income from. Yeah. But go out there, go on your computer, find out, do the searches and study and become good at whatever it is that you want to become good at. And make the money out of that. Transform what you are good at in your job. We tend to think, oh, that's my hobby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. try and make something work for you that
Yes.
suited you, just like you did.
Yes.
Well, that's amazing. With Step by Step Talks, like I said earlier on, Thalia, we're going to continue to support you. We're going to follow
Thank
your
you.
journey with your book. We're going to make sure that, a lot of women get this book. And I think it's going to be very, very popular. I think you are also continuing on with a workbook with this book.
Yes, after I wrote Fuga Por Mi Vida, I realized, at the end of each chapter, I have written a series of reflections. And these reflections are ways of me to portray, because it's not just telling my story of what took place. That's storytelling, but the book has, it's
like a workbook?
Well, no, I'm lacking the word for
No, you're doing fine. Don't worry.
this.
You're doing really good.
So it is not just a testimony,
Yeah.
but it is a
Could it be a guidance to people who want to leave a relationship?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a guidance.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's why at the end of each chapter I talk about my reflections as a 53-year-old woman who have gone through all of this, and teaching people how not to, and letting them be aware of what it is like to go through it, because it is so much more common than people think.
Yeah.
There is so much abuse in the world we live in, and the most terrifying thing is that, the people nowadays, the victims and the aggressors of today were the children of the past.
Yeah. It's following a generation and generation. Yeah,
And
it continues.
Until when are we going to continue teaching these traits?
Yeah.
We need to make it a firm effort to start healing ourselves, our wounds, start treating our children with love and respect. Parents don't respect their children. They just tell them what to do and how to do it, and because I say so. Yeah. No, there needs to be also respect.
Definitely.
And teaching out of love and respect will help us have a better society at the end.
You're so right in what you've said. We've talked about before that children who grow up in homes that are full of debt, it's always been credit cards and debt, and we never have money. They follow the same pattern as they grow up. Then their children learn this. And I always said, debt drags you down. Let debt not drag you down. Learn how to be financially comfortable. Now, if you need any information, or if you want to talk to Thalia, is that possible? Can people contact you?
Yes, of course.
Can they message you and ask you a question? Because I'm sure there's lots of people who'd like to do that.
Yes.
So where can they reach you?
Actually, in my book, I have in the back of it, my webpage is thaliavelasquez.com, and also my Instagram, thaliavelasquez.b.
Yeah.
And there is an Instagram account dedicated to Fuga Por Mi Vida, which is thaliavelasquez.books.
.books. Okay.
Yes.
So that's really easy for you to get in touch with
Thalia
Thalia.
Velasquez.
Yeah. Or else you can get in touch with me, Rohini Kapoor, Step by Step Talks. And you can find me on my website, www.stepbysteptalks.ca. .com, and I will answer you back within 24 hours. There's a link that you can click in, and I will answer you back within 24 hours. And you can message me. If you cannot get a hold of Thalia, I will put you in touch with her. But I want to let everybody know in my audience that we will be following up with Thalia and doing another podcast in the next few months to see where the book has gone. And once you've got your workbook out and the English version of it,
yes,
we will be podcasting this podcast in Spanish as well. And that should be in the next few weeks. So I encourage you to share, subscribe, and like. Send it to all the women that you know. This is not just, a podcast for you alone. It's for everybody, because you don't know what happens behind closed doors, just like you said, right? So we want everybody to know that there is somebody who's experienced this, and she can help. She's here to help. She's got the tools. She wants to help you. Whether you're in Panama or whether you're in Central America or even in the States, I think it would be the same. The story is phenomenal. We're looking forward to the movie coming out soon as well. And this is Rohini Kapoor signing off with Thalia. Thank you again. Thank you so much for being our guest. Until next time, talk to you soon.